Hey guys, Robert here, and Ingrid's joining me as we're doing not a Pro Teacher's Noob. I've already done a Pro Teacher's Noob on this video, but because Ingrid has actually read it, and as you can see on the screen, we're going to be talking again. Can you tell how much I love this series? About Doomsday Clock.
Woohoo!
Now, you've never read Watchmen. We've already made that clear when we went over the movie, but you've seen the movie. We've seen the long, full cut version of it, so at least you have a.
And I'm aware of some of the discourse around Watchmen as a whole and the significance it had on comics, or rather, the unintended chilling effect it had on certain things, and the way that a lot of people misinterpreted it.
Exactly. And even Alan Moore himself was fed up with it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, this is not what I wanted. Him and Frank Miller with Dark Knight Returns. Neither of them wanted this to be the new norm, the new standard.
Mm-hmm.
Because the thing about when it came to it is, they just wanted to, in the case of Watchmen, yes, it's meant to be a deconstruction about superheroes, but felt like people got the answer but didn't understand the question.
Mm-hmm.
Is that the right phrase?
Yeah, like, what makes a superhero a superhero? It sure isn't the power that they have over the world.
Because you remember, in Watchmen, Manhattan's really the only true superpowered being. Unless you count Ozymandias' genius a superpower, would you?
Not really, no.
I mean, it's probably the closest. But yeah, now, one thing that would always be a trend in Watchmen would be that the cover would actually be the very first panel. Come on. See what I mean? And what do you think about this opening up with every people have found out about what Ozzy had done and it's causing everything to go to hell?
I mean, that's about the reaction you would expect for something like that.
Exactly. It was all built, the world peace was built on a lie. So once you find out that lie wasn't an alien, it was someone from the States. I mean, that was actually the one downside I had with the movie version. Putting it all on Manhattan, he's still an American. You're still going to have some people who would want to blame him. At least when you had to be an alien you would have think it's some third party. Let me get, they were never going to do the giant, tentacle monster. Not in the movie, because that looked way too,
awkward with CGI.
Well, not just that, but there's a reason why people call it the pussy monster.
Oh, Lord Almighty.
Because of how it looks. Oh, by the way, when you read it, did you notice the Trump jab?
That was the furthest thing from my mind.
But yeah, so of course, Ozzy just seeing that everything is just, again, falling apart very fast. And did you actually believe that Ozzy had cancer when you saw this?
It seemed too convenient.
It did, didn't it? Oh, and how'd you reveal and think about when you saw this?
Oh,
weren't you like, wait? Yeah, weren't you like, wait, ain't he supposed to be dead?
It's like, what do you mean?
I know, you still want out? No way, man. I'm cool. But yeah, I mean, and he truly does act like Rorschach, though, even though he does not care for Rorschach. That's the funny part of all, isn't it? Now, I also love the parallels. Unlocking it at the same time as the nukes are ready to fly. Now, then of course we find out, oh, he's black, but we're also introduced to the marionette and the mime. What did you think of these two?
They were pretty fascinating, I'd say.
Especially mime, right?
Yeah.
I was like, baby, come on, we're leaving. I know you're in the middle of a performance. He likes to play the underdog. Then, the dramatic turn. And then he takes them down like they were nothing. They're crazy though, aren't they?
Yeah.
But as we find out later on, we'll get to it because we're just going through this opening part. But again, I do like how there's a lot of questions about these characters that we have no idea, but yet they're clearly firmly established in this world.
Mm-hmm.
Like the weapons. I mean, when I saw this, I'll be honest, I actually did think he was just crazy. Did you think they were real guns, or did you just think, oh, he just needs it for his mental state?
Honestly, I felt like I kind of left that as an open question.
Because it could be one way or the other, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep, but obviously, but even this point where it looks like he's pulling out the gun, and that's what made me question it. Because he's making it look like he's pulling it out of a holster and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Again, that could be for his mental state, but who knows? But then, obviously, then we go to the Night Owl's cave, which you recognize this from the movie, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where Night Owl stayed, and I am glad Silk Spectre and Sally and Dan were not involved with this. I'm glad they were not. They did not need to be. Their story was done for the most part. But then, of course, we start to get, as everything's going to happen. I mean, obviously, the whole point of this first issue is to set up what are the stakes over in the Watchmen universe. But then we get and Clark remembering the night his parents died, which was set up. This is the new 52 version of things, where Mom and Pa had died. But I do also like how, without spilling the beans, we're having Jonathan basically tell him, like, there's been no one like him before, which puts emphasis on it was less Clark or Manhattan causing this, and more his one change long ago that set a chain reaction that eventually led to the deaths of the Kents.
Yeah.
But we don't know that yet.
Indeed.
But also this idea of Superman's never had a nightmare before. I kind of call bullshit on that one.
Yeah, no, that seems a little too convenient.
He meets some fragment huge and stops to guess what powerful but unrecorded race once dwelt in that annihilated place. Straight from the Ozymandias poem, and that's an interesting use of that poem, isn't it? You look at this once, this annihilated place, and you wonder what lived here and what led to it. That's clearly what that poem's about.
Yeah.
Dedicated to Len Wein. See, there's the monster. That's what the original monster looked like. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
And they toned it down. Gary Frank, he toned down from what it looked like originally. Like reduced down the size a little bit. But I just wanted to use that as a starting point. We don't have to go through each and every issue. So from like obviously the beginning and everything going on throughout all this. Again, we see Manhattan and all that show up. I mean, did it ever feel to you like it was too long of a build up, or did a lot of it make sense? Like it was needed?
I feel like it dragged a little bit, but not egregiously.
Yeah, like this moment here. What ended up being a very important moment when we find out, we see one of their crime sprees right before they were abducted, and it led to my favorite moment. Cuts off his finger because he was telling off to the woman who had a very special needs child. It's like, how do you open it? Hand reader. Oops, which hand? Shit. They would see where his finger went. I just love the dark humor of that, don't you? It's just like, shit. Again, Gary Frank's artwork here is amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's really good.
And yet we get reminded, all right, there was a point in time when Manhattan was a superhero and he wasn't always naked. But yeah, and I do like how they kind of set up this falseness of, wait, they're bringing her because of the connection John had with them, because he spared them because she was pregnant. But then if you actually read Watchmen, you realize he didn't stop comedian from shooting another pregnant woman, so why would that matter?
And
again, I do like how they leave that question open, you know?
And
then, of course, boom! Like I said, I do like how this one here. Look at that. What does that look like?
Oh, yeah.
Bruce and his parents.
And
then, of course, like a bat. Now, what did you think about this whole idea of the Superman theory? This whole idea that turned out the governments have been making superheroes. But we're doing such a good job
I can
at
believe it.
Up.
There's been enough various shady secret government shit that I would perfectly believe that making superheroes would be something that would be in their interest to do to help cement their power.
But could you believe it? That it's so well hidden that not only do most of these people don't even know it, because unfortunately their secret origins were manipulated so well that they took it at face value, but the other heroes don't even believe it. I don't buy that.
Yeah, I can perfectly believe that there was like a secret government program to create them. I can believe less about the cover-up being that effective because, well, government bureaucracy is messy no matter how good it is.
I know. I mean,
there's got to be at least some conspiracy quacks out there saying something along those lines.
Yep. Oh, and remember Rorschach's little pet? I told you we'd see him again. Yep. But yeah, and then I do like it then how Vite looks up and decides he'll go check out Lex, who he believes is the smartest one. I mean, that makes sense, doesn't it? And Rorschach ate Batman's pancakes. That was hilarious, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was pretty funny.
No, I actually like it how he figured out about the clock.
Not
many people do. But then, of course, I like it how Lex is. I look at it with Lex. He's both smarter and dumber than Vite. He's definitely, I think, between the two of them, Ozymandias Vite is the smartest man. But Lex, for all of his ego, knows when a plan is way too ludicrous.
Yeah, it's like Ozymandias definitely has like above like a 20 intelligence, which is the normal cap that you'd have in D&D, but Lex, to his credit, at least has a higher wisdom score than Ozymandias does. Not that that's saying all that much.
Exactly. I mean, obviously, because he's obsessed with Superman and all that. Oh, and again, I just love the artwork here, like him getting out the lockpick, and I love that smile at her. It's just that's my boy smile. I love that. You dissected a psychic's brain and listened to the morally bankrupt minds of artists and writers from the likes of Hollywood and comic books and created an alien invader that murdered 3 million people to unite the world. And you're surprised that humanity hasn't stayed united? If you're the smartest man on your planet, I'd hate to meet the dumbest. Well, that right there, it's perfect. I mean, that is so Lex, but it points out the flaws. Yes, Ozzy made it work, but he was so short-sighted realizing how fragile of that piece that was. Even Lex would see it like, yeah, no, it would work, but then I'd have to focus every moment of every day to make sure it didn't fall apart. And he wouldn't care for it. He'd be like, nah, too much long-term work.
Yeah. It's like Lex has been the one actively operating a business for a long period of time. He at least ought to know something.
Exactly. Whereas, granted, so did Ozzy, but his business was all for that end goal. Whereas Lex,
it's just he didn't really have it.
Sorry, I was saying Lex's business was not created to take out Superman. They're both parallel to each other.
Yeah, and I think that sort of brings back a lot of the balance that was missed in the first Watchmen by having them directly interact with characters that are very much intended to be parallels and counterparts. But not in a way that feels like they're hitting us over the head with it. It's just like Lex for all of his evil, has a grounding in the real world that Ozymandias does not.
Because again, when your only great superhero is practically a god, what else would you have, right? To look up to be feeling like what I'd have to do. Now, this leads to a point that I still feel went nowhere. What was the point of the comedian being brought back? You know what I mean? Because he amounts to nothing in the end.
Can't say.
You ate my breakfast. Yeah, I did. Again, I love these backup stuff, don't you?
Yeah.
Did you read through a lot of these? In fact, they're also detailed.
Yeah, I really liked because it helped me get immersed in the world building more to see documents about what's happening written in universe. That's the kind of stuff I like to do with my own world building. It's just like, okay, I found this interesting tidbit about my world. Now, how can I present it in a believable way in universe? Like, okay, I can write about the restaurants in my world by writing a recommendation list from a wizard to his student who's traveling.
Exactly. I mean, again, the first Watchmen did the same thing. Like this, an expert from under the hood, the book. They did the exact same thing here. But yeah, let's continue on to the next one. As we get a reminder about the death of the comedian, and then find out that John, for some reason, saved him. Of course, why they didn't change history, I don't know. But I did like, though, how, as it's pointed out, comedian was drunk. He was not in his right state of mind, and Ozzy caught him unaware. But then you have some moments like, you were never one for medals. Death changes a man. Again, things like that, I'm just like, yeah. Again, it's just a reminder of why the heck he was here, aside from going after Marionette and Mime. And then after that, he's pretty much off the board.
Yeah.
And I did like how Ozzy, gets knocked down. And then Batman, him giving Batman the journal. Oh, by the way, the place where they had landed, it's the theme park from Killing Joke.
Oh, I wouldn't have caught that.
It's this clown right here. Yeah, you know what I mean? And again, I was like, what page are you on? 4. That's all? It's been a long day. Why don't you go upstairs and get some rest? Take a shower. Clean up. Yeah, clean up. Not only bite, my hands are dirty too. Oh, I did like that. From there to there. Now, this then eventually leads into what is the secondary subplot, and that's the adjournment. All the tales of Nathaniel Dusk. What did you think about this side story?
Oh boy.
This adjournment, this detective and all that, and how important he would be for the story. This mystery of how this actor died, why he died, and also the plot of his story of his last movie actually kind of fits parallel.
It was innocuous enough at its introduction. I thought it was just, oh, hey, here's this interesting thing to kind of break up the story a little bit. It's just like, oh, of course, stuff like that is never just random.
Exactly, and if you see what, it's its own equivalent to the Black Freighter. You remember that from Watchmen? The animated stuff.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
That was my mom.
But yeah, then we finally see Rorschach unmasked as Reggie.
I thought that was a pretty interesting reveal.
But once I saw that, I started to realize more and more, oh, he's related to the psychiatrist, isn't he? I think that became quite an obvious thing, didn't it?
In retrospect.
Now, I gotta say, though, I cannot believe that this would have been a movie from way back when, because no way in hell would they have this much violence back then. You know what I mean? This panel
Sorry,
here.
was momentarily distracted.
Sorry, this panel right here, no way in hell would that be in a movie way back then.
Yeah.
That's a bit of a stretch. The rest I could see, but that panel, no, you would not see a chunk of flesh knocked out.
Yeah, no, that's a bit much.
But then, of course, the idea of, oh, they're wearing clown makeup. Are they with, and this is Joker's turf. But yeah, then the reveal, his gun is real.
Yep.
So he has invisible weaponry, and her thing can tie through everything. And I just realized here, she got him in the eyes.
Oh shit!
And I love it. We see this all from his point of view. Like, well, chink, chink. Ooh. That boy, would you want that to be the last thing you ever saw?
Yeah, no.
Yep. And now, of course, because they mentioned Joker, they feel like, let's go find who this Joker fella is. I do like how it led to that.
Yeah.
But yeah, of course, Lex is going in this, is in surgery because of what happened. And we're seeing a bit more of all this stuff parallel, with everything, Cop going in, like, I haven't been here since the day Joyce's ex killed her. It's so empty without her and the kids. Joyce's grandparents took Jenny and Anthony and never looked back. I shouldn't have come back either. But it's Christmas Eve and I can't help it. To Nate, Merry Christmas. So obviously close to them. But then we see a bit about what happened. Turns out he was in town but at a good distance away when the alien event happened. But now, what did you think here about what Batman did? Tricking him and locking him in Arkham. Dick move!
Seems like pretty classic Batman to me.
It's still a dick move! Like, he just read through everything, and yet he's still feeling I need to lock this guy up?
Right, he's the world's greatest detective, not the world's perfect detective.
Yes. But yeah, this is then where we find out about the different movies and everything. And we find out a bit about Carver Coleman and his mysterious death. And all that. And again, I just found that, I just love some of that, all that stuff. Just showing off more about, again, this world and setting things up that they don't have time to mention in the main book because it's not relevant to the main plot. But it's not fluffed either. That's the difference, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the important thing about world building, is that it has to matter to your story. Otherwise, viewers are just kind of gonna roll their eyes because there's no investment.
Yep. Now, of course, then we get Reggie's backstory. And remember, as far as he always thought, his parents were loving each other by the time he went to college. What he didn't know, and wouldn't find out for a long time, was that he thought his father went to, met up with Rorschach. They got close, and when his parents died, they died in a loving embrace, not knowing, no, that's not what happened at all. You know what I mean? Because as we know, their marriage fell apart because of what Rorschach did to him.
Yeah.
His father was such an optimistic man, but after hearing everything from Rorschach, it broke him. It utterly broke him. And I don't blame him, especially when he found out about that young girl and what made Rorschach snap. And then we find out stuff like he's still, had his own mental issues because of what happened. And then we also find out about the moth. And if you remember from the original, he was the one who got locked up and no one ever thought about him again. I love how Jeff Johns actually brings him up.
Yeah.
And utilize him. It's like, who else would try and talk to him and yet still be stable enough to help him? Like, the guy had a mental breakdown, nothing more.
Mm-hmm.
And we talked a bit about with the all the different people and everything. And but I also liked how he was still smart enough to keep certain files away so that Reggie wouldn't find out the truth.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? So they baked their way out there, and then what? Well, he's a moth. What is he going to do but go into the flames?
Yeah.
And yep, that eventually leads to him finding Vite. And again, convenient that he finds him just when Vite finds out he has cancer.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, much like the original Rorschach, perfect and easy to manipulate.
Mm-hmm.
I also like how Batman was there undercover as a psychiatrist.
Oh yeah, that's real clever.
Yeah, I love that because he realized, yeah, he's not that crazy.
Mm-hmm.
But again, this is still such a slow burn that it got painful, especially when they started having delays.
Oh, I can only imagine.
Yeah, it's like, um, well, I do like how Ozzy's able to get his way out of it by faking being flatlining,
Hmm.
and of course getting scat and getting out of there. But this is then where things start to build up on the Superman theory. The fact it took, which issue is this again? Up to issue 5 to finally get that ball rolling.
Yeah.
Now I should also point out the other person that's with Rorschach. This is Saturn Girl of the Legion of Superheroes from
Huh.
the 30th century, a group of heroes who were inspired by Superman.
Hmm.
So yeah, obviously we still see a bit more going on. And now I love Batman meeting with Vite. It's one thing when Lex did it. It's another thing entirely when Batman and him are confronted.
Mm-hmm.
And I just love that, like, as they're taking out, like, Rorschach escaped. Of course he did, but we have more immediate concerns at the moment. And I do like also with Firestorm, the fact that Professor Stein was in on the Superman series, and that poor Ronnie, I feel so sorry for him, don't you?
Yeah.
He trusted the professor,
Hmm.
and it turns out the professor used him.
Mm-hmm.
And then we built up the other stuff with Black Adam, which I liked. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I know all about the chaos and death you brought to the world, Mr. Vite. You slaughtered millions, created an illusion that paralyzed the planet so you could swoop in and save the day. It's called hero syndrome. But the panic you've made, the plan you've set into motion, it stops now. I see. You think I'm responsible for the chaos onto your world and your city. You do realize the protests below are for you. I've read and seen enough to know you're tripping over your own cape, playing a game of tag while the world falls apart around you falls apart. You put these people through hell. And then, of course, then I do also like how Lex here, he doesn't care about going after Superman right now. That's like, because even he knows that's an issue, the Superman theory. It has nothing to do with him, but even he feels like, is it a big enough threat for the whole world? And that's bad for business.
Mm-hmm. It's like it makes his motivations normally very believable, where it's just like, yeah, no, I've got other fish to fry here.
Exactly. And then, oh, by the way, this guy here was a member of the Justice Society. He was the keeper of the lightning, the living lightning. This is Johnny Thunder.
Ah.
Oh yeah, your world is worse off than mine as ever was. Look at the sheer number of you lost in the narrative of good versus bad, wandering aimlessly in a fog of self-righteousness. You're so busy putting these supervillains in the prisons with revolving doors, you've ignored the world's real problems, and now you're all caught in this vicious cycle of entertaining yourself. Stop it, the police. You cling to simplistic morality based on pulp heroes. I wonder, is that why John came here? To observe the futility of your colorful lives? Like, I weaned my work, or did he come here because and he wanted to blend in? I weaned my world off of gasoline and oil. I cured famine disease. I negotiated the nuclear disarmament. Like, I did whatever I had to try and save it. And yes, I failed. But what have you tried to do to make this world a better place? This is the big argument. This summed up everything, the difference between Watchmen and DC. And also reminds us the problem that Watchmen had set up. This idea that superheroes should dictate the world. They shouldn't.
They're there to serve the greater interests of the world and keep the world safe, not to be its rulers.
Exactly. But yes, is that frustrating? Does it make it, as Superman puts it, a never-ending battle? Oh yes, definitely. But that's because it's up to humanity if they change, which tells you the difference. Batman and Superman, though, people like them, most of them believe in humanity to do it. People like Ozzy had nothing but contempt for the humanity. Now, granted, again, given how his world was, could you blame him?
Yeah, it's especially nowadays, it's really easy to fall prey to the poison of cynicism.
Exactly. But again, right there, right then and there is when we had it, where Ozzy's saying, I cured all the world's disease, where you're just doing superhero stuff while the rest of the world burns. It's like, but who are these heroes to dictate? I mean, that's the whole thing with Superman. Yes, he could rule the world if he wanted to. Injustice proved it. But would that be a good
and every
thing?
timeline where that's happened, stuff has gotten screwed up in an entirely different fashion.
Because for Superman to feel comfortable doing that, he'd have to be a bad guy or out of his mind. And of course, then Joker showing up. Now, I do like how that's the original Golden Age Green Lantern's lantern.
Oh man, I wouldn't have
And
caught that.
all these other people who had been, considered part of the meta-human, and basically this whole idea of weaponizing the meta-humans.
I do sort of like how they sort of retroactively justified why a lot of the superheroes came from the same general place, even though originally it was just, hey, we didn't think too much about it, but then they sort of retroactively have this reason of, hey, there was a specific deliberate reason for that. I liked that.
But it doesn't change how their origins played out. It's what happened behind the scenes of their origins. Stuff that might have been said, oh, it was an accident. It was no accident.
It's like it doesn't necessarily retcon anything major, just gives it new context.
Exactly. Now, the only one that does change is, of course, Firestorm, because that radically changes the personality and reason behind it all. And now we get the origin. And now we get the origins of the marionette and the mime, man. The fact that innocent kids become such monstrous people. And what did you think about that when you say you think these could have been heroes, but instead they feel they latch out the world? You know what I mean? I just like that because you feel like you understand why these two love each other so much.
Indeed, it's like it's someone that's down in that muck together with you.
Exactly. And all because she was nice to him, he helped her. But we also find out just how twisted they are back then because it's the world of the Watchmen. Of course they're twisted. Now, I do like this idea as well of these villains being worried about this whole Superman, Superman theory and all that. Now, the Court of Owls here, this made no sense and it's gone nowhere. The Judge of Owls. Jeff Johns created it, they created this, and yet did nothing with it and no one's used it. Now this one, then you have Typhoon, who's just putting on this big rant like, I know my power. I'm not a government stooge. I've got blown up in a nuclear bathysphere. And yet we later find out when we get to the backup material, no, he was manipulated by the government. It's true. And then he gets his face blasted in. Now, I did like this, how Mime was ready to sacrifice himself for her. But yet she didn't tell them, like, don't you dare do that. But see, I feel like comedian was here just for this moment, and afterwards he's pretty much off the board until the very end. But yeah, I did feel bad for Marionette though. Her whole, what happened with her father, how he had no choice, and then he hung himself.
Oh.
Like you were safer with me gone. They would never have stopped. Dry your tears, empty the till, and run. They have no reason to follow you now. You will be safe, free to live a good life. I hope you forgive me. Yeah, no. She was already a troubled girl, and this pushed her over the edge. But his father didn't see the trouble, and her father didn't see the trouble. Again, I don't blame her for killing them, do you?
Not really, no.
Granted, they went overboard, but still. But yeah, and then we find out about their kid and everything, and how he's gone missing. And then comedian shows up, Joker takes them out, and they're going to continue doing so. But this is where we find out, yeah, Typhoon was created by the government. This is where you're all like, as far as he thought, no. And again, find out some of these other ones were created by them. And but not all of them. That's the other thing I do like though. It's some, but not all.
I mean, they had to have reference material to create them from.
Yeah. And now we get the moment where we find out about Manhattan. And as everything, this is the point where everything starts to escalate. And it just felt like, did we really need like up to 5 or 6 issues for this to be built up to?
Yeah, there was a point where I just it's where it's just like, not necessarily asleep, but sort of like half wanting to nod off, trying to wonder where it's going. Kitty!
Yep, Kitty! Boobestis. And she senses John. She's the magnet for it. Oh boy, and they're torturing a comedian.
Oh, lovely.
Oh, Batman got out. And this is where then while Batman is fighting them, oh gee, Joker really with the flamethrower?
Come on.
This is Joker though, let's be honest.
Oh.
But yeah, but thanks to it now, they're able to utilize John's influence on the Lantern to summon him here. And he finally shows up, and we finally start to get some answers. I do like Joker. Whoever you are, put some clothes on for God's sakes, or at least for mine. So even Joker cannot stand seeing a guy completely naked. But so let's talk. And again, I gotta say, I do think Jeff Johns did get a good handle on John to a point, but unfortunately, I think he completely undid a lot of the growth John had by the end of Watchmen.
Yeah, that's fair.
But you could look at it like, yes, John had an epiphany, but then once he left to his own devices, the epiphany faltered. Like his curiosity got the better of him.
Yeah.
But basically, yeah, he calls him out, saying, like, you're thinking I once again turned my back on humanity. That's why you asked Laurie to come with me, to remind me. She refused, but she led you to them. And then at the same time, he's still remembering what happened before. But then, yeah, he called out saying, you think I hesitated because I learned she was pregnant. But no, it's what I saw your child would do, and I chose to save him. Then we find out she's pregnant again. Wow, that was fast.
Yep.
But then Rorschach finds out Adrian faked the cancer just to manipulate him. And Rorschach completely, and he doesn't deny it. And this is where he spells out everything about Rorschach. And it makes him realize, yeah, Rorschach was not a good man. And I think this is Jeff Johns calling out those who did treat Rorschach like a hero. He's not a hero.
Yeah, it sort of reminds me of those memes where it's like, if you looked up to this character, you missed the point of their character starter pack.
But it's better than what the HBO series did, where they had it be, a group of alt-right nationalists used Rorschach as their symbol. Now, granted, it was a case where they took it upon themselves, not saying that he was, but but still at the same time, it's not, that's just going the opposite direction.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so he reveals about his visions and all that. But then they start to explain. He then says enough talk, and he lets them back. And oh boy, Reggie, I feel sorry for Reggie here. He snapped. And did you notice he's doing the exact same thing that he saw mine do? The smile.
Yeah.
Rorschach is dead. And then Bite, oh boy, I just feel bad. The fact he beats up an old man and a woman. All because he has a plan now to push it to push John into helping.
Huh.
And then we find out why it's John doing all this. He has a vision. Superman will charge at him, throw a fist, and then nothing.
Mm-hmm.
That I can understand why John. Now, what do you think about that reveal there? I mean, you're like, wait, why would Superman do that, right?
Yeah, it's just like, Soups wouldn't do that without a damn good reason.
Yeah, does Superman destroy me, or do I destroy everything? And then we start to lead into this notion that John keeps on dropping this photo. And this was my one issue with this. He's never done this before. Why did he start now? And they never explain why he keeps dropping the photo wherever he goes. They never explain it. I mean, when you watch it, you explain it as far as you saw?
I don't know, it just kind of seemed like a weird little symbolic detail that was a bit too on the nose.
Oh, look, Bubas's toys. And we see how she was created.
Aww.
Yeah, see, you were ticked off when Boy killed off the original one.
Yeah!
Oh, look.
And now it's my favorite cover, to no one's surprise.
Yep. Meow.
Ah, cat yawns. I love them.
Yep, and he's in the Oval Office, of course. Now, that's the other thing I did like. They made it clear that everything going on with the Superman theory and everything happened before Vite showed up. Making it clear Vite had nothing to do with it until now. It's only until this point that Vite is actually starting to manipulate things.
Oh yeah.
I love this. This whole moment here, it's replicating the final page of the first story and of the main Watchmen, right down to someone about to grab something that might help out. In that case, in the original case, it was Kovac's journal. Here, it's something from Lex. But then we find out Firestorm. Oh, it was in Russia. Things escalated, and by accident, he ended up turning a lot of people into glass. And he's not normally one to transform organic matter. So for him to do that, he's freaking out.
Oh, yeah.
So of course Superman's going to go over there and help. But first he heads over to Kahndaq, where Black Adam's from. You remember we saw the movie, remember?
Yes, this is still very fresh on my mind.
Hello, Superman. Welcome to Kahndaq. As you can see, Kahndaq is a place of peace for all, human and metahuman alike. We have no secrets, no one to hide. This is Sandstorm. Superman? Hi, you're really here. Sandstorm, he's a boy. Nabal Ozma from Duma, Syria. His family was killed in the Civil War. His younger sister gassed by Assad, the Russians' puppet. He used his power over the desert sands to free thousands of children from enslavement, including himself. He brought them to Kahndaq, where all are welcome, even Firestorm. That is why you're here, is it not? I hear the same rumors you do, that Firestorm fled to Kahndaq. I only want to talk to him, to understand what happened. That's all. Firestorm is not in Kahndaq. You shouldn't believe everything you see on the news or read in the paper. So what do you think about Black Adam in this? Different from the movie to a degree, right?
Yeah, but not in a bad way.
Right. Basically, he's an anti-hero. That much is clear. But he's still a good man trying to do good, but his way is what the problem is.
Mm-hmm.
He's basically Superman if Superman wasn't raised by the Kents.
Mm-hmm.
Would you agree with that?
I would definitely agree with that, showing how much of that is just having
Mm-hmm.
like a upbringing that puts a good perspective on you.
And we find out Firestorm, he took one of the kids that he's trying to restore it. He's trying so hard. He's freaking out. And I feel bad for him, don't you? It's like in a
Yeah.
moment of reacting, not even knowing sure what he did, he harmed and possibly killed thousands of people. And he's trying to undo it because he knows he can turn them back, but he doesn't know how. Because he doesn't know how he did it. But also, thanks to
Yeah, I mean,
Superman.
I was just on a lesser scale, it's that thing of, oops, I broke this and now I am trying desperately to fix it. That feeling is way too close to home.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that if you're a
And
superhero, you have the chance to do that on a much more bigger scale than any of us would normally have the chance to.
mm-hmm. And then by doing like how Superman just simply gives him words of encouragement, and that's all he needs. That's
Mm-hmm.
what I love about Superman. He's the inspiration. That's all he is.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, he can move mountains and everything, but that's not who he is.
Yeah, it's like the power isn't what makes Superman special, it's the
It's the
character
symbol.
because yeah, it's just the hope that, yeah, power doesn't always have to corrupt if you're a good person.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And the fact is, it worked.
Mm-hmm.
It absolutely worked.
Yeah, how many times have you had that happen in your life where it's just like you think you've messed everything up, you have somebody that you really look up to and trust, encourage you, and then bam, you manage to figure out what you did wrong now that you don't have that anxiety lording over your head.
And this leads to something else I love about Jeff Johns' work. Notice how political, but it's still being political, but at the same time, it's still politically neutral.
Hmm.
Have you
Like,
noticed that? Like you have Putin here. Putin's not treated like this mustache twirling wahaha. He's just a man. A man who's cruel, yes. But even when Superman shows up, he actually talks Fozar down, saying like, "Welcome, Superman. Welcome, Superman. Thank you for coming." And then he's even tried to say him like, "Superman speaks not for America, but for all people on the planet." But then
mm-hmm,
it's when Superman brings up about and I like how Batman's trying to stop him, saying, "No, don't do this. Don't
mm-hmm,
pick a side." But unfortunately, Superman feels he has to pick a side. And that's when Putin then shows that you're picking the wrong side.
hmm,
But at the same time, it's also because of what Firestorm did.
mm-hmm,
Like, again, he's just treating Putin like a man.
mm-hmm,
And that's what I like about this, don't you? And
mm-hmm,
again, it's a little heavy handed, a little bit, but nowhere near as bad as others.
mm-hmm,
And then you have Firestorm wants to fix it, but unfortunately things are escalating to the point where some people are getting, these glass, people are getting broken. Firestorm starts to react. Superman stops him, and he actually did work and stop him. But then
hmm.
Ozzy manipulated the using John's energy to cause an explosion. So I like that.
Hmm.
I love that. As far as everyone thinks it was Firestorm and Superman's doing, when it wasn't.
Yeah.
And oh, I loved as well. Trust shattered.
That's really clever.
Human massacre. Superman takes a stand for the wrong side. But what does the Daily Planet say? Superman missing. Although it has been confirmed, Firestorm is responsible for the deaths of dozens in Moscow after transforming them into glass. The exact source of the detonation that later left hundreds dead, and Superman Firestorm missing has yet to come into question and has come into question. The obvious assumption was yet another outburst from the rash and seemingly unstable Firestorm. But as the world in this editor's opinion unjustly began to blame Superman, suspicions of his own solar flare eruptions, that's one of his abilities from the past, came into question. Was the Man of Steel the most trusted metahuman in the world behind it, or was it third party, an unseen force that has been speculated by one of the top physicists in the world, Professor Ray Palmer? And I love how Perry just makes it clear. No, everyone else is throwing Superman under the bus, but not Perry.
Everyone else is like trying to play into what a lot of people will believe, whereas the journalist is trying to do good journalism. Look at this from all possible angles.
And look at the photo he uses. They use fire, a glare, punching, but he reminds people what Superman always stood for.
Mm-hmm. It's like, is this really in character for Superman to do?
No. And again, that I love. That was my favorite of the backup because of just how simple it was. You don't even have to read the articles. Those headlines made enough sense.
Yeah. The actual articles are just the icing on the cake.
Exactly. But yeah, then we get John and we find out. I love it. It's called Crisis is this one because it's very much like a crisis. Because thanks to Ozzy, they're tracking the energy to Mars. And everyone is going there because of how dangerous this was. And we find out, they helped Superman out, and he's down for the count. And unfortunately, the anti-Superman sentiment has grown. And yet, notice, Lex isn't taking advantage of it.
Yeah, that's the most striking thing about all of this, because this would be an absolutely golden opportunity for him if that was the only thing he cared about, but he doesn't.
Exactly. Oh, okay, this here is clearly Trump here. The president also tweeted. But yeah, so Batman is, of course, getting up, realizing what's going on, and everyone's heading on over there. And he tries to warn him, saying that don't go there. And I just like this, how they're just looking at all this. Then Lex thought, did you get the drive I sent you? I don't know how you got in here, Lex, but if you come to try and finish Superman off, it'll be over my dead body. I have no intention of harming Superman at the moment, Lois. Again, you're just like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then everyone's there. Of course, I do like how Stein, he realizes this guy may know more about the Superman theory and might spill the beans, which he does.
Mm-hmm.
And I just like, again, all these heroes are here. Like, they're posturing a power they fear. I don't understand. Excuse me. I was talking to Ronald Raymond 6 minutes from now. The Tachyons are muddling things up. You're here looking for answers you don't know the question to. Shocker. The guy's a lunatic. Hey, Blue Man Group, before you launch into why you're messing with Superman, let me tell you about his friends. We're the biggest groups of badasses this side of the Milky Way. We made the ruler of Apocalypse lick the shit off our boots, shove the universe eater back into the universe he crawled out of. We've beaten armies of evil ring slingers looking to enslave us, burned up and Batman from alternate realities trying to torture us, and spanked Superbats out to destroy us. Guy, that's enough. From your mind, I can see that you're confused. Only for the moment. In 5 seconds, you will broadcast to everyone the thought you read most clearly. My final vision of Superman. And then, yeah, so they do. And for that moment we think Guy killed him, it's like, oh, that was easy. Not when a guy's made of energy, no.
Yeah.
I also like how he's studying all the stuff, but I also love how he realizes here, you all believe you're wielding magic. I must perform a deeper analysis, but I see this power you harness is in reality the scrapes of creation, like the random errors in computer code, discarded and forgotten, left to be picked up and used by those who also find themselves discarded and forgotten. Magic. It feels good to still learn. What did you think about an explanation of what magic is?
Huh.
Comparing it to random quotes.
It made enough sense. It wasn't great, but it wasn't awful.
Yeah. And this is then where he reveals, yeah, Stein was one of those involved. And of course, Firestorm can't believe it. And I like it. They all fight. Now this I love, because you do know Dr.Manhattan, originally Watchmen was supposed to be the Charlton heroes. And Manhattan was supposed to be Captain Atom. So for Captain Atom to show up saying, forget Superman, Captain Atom is the last thing you'll ever see.
Oh,
that
boy.
was so fitting.
Yeah.
That was one of them. Today is the day we begin to heal. Now, of course, John puts himself back to normal. What are you hoping to accomplish? And he knocks them all out and then Black Adam makes a move. He feels fed up with where the world is going. He's basically ready to pull what Ozzy would want. Did you realize that? He's basically pulling what Ozzy wished Batman and the others would do.
It didn't necessarily hit me right then, but then again, I was kind of gradually reading this over the course of Grand Rapids Comic Con, so some of the finer details might have escaped me.
Right. But now that I point it out, though, that's a good point, isn't it?
It really is.
But yeah, so we get some of the stuff with the movies, of the adjournment. So we find out a bit more about Carver. And we find out that while John is doing all this, he's going back and forth like he does. But then we find out when he first arrived, he's drawn to for reasons he does not understand. And the first person he meets is Carver, before Carver became an actor. And he helped save him from being beaten up by a bunch of cops. And I need you all incapacitated for reasons that will become clear. But then I do like it then how he's meeting up with them, and they do this annual meetup. Every year they meet up at this diner. But because for John, it's all happening at once. But for John, it's throughout a lot of his life.
Yeah.
And it's through Carver. Like, I don't understand. You were right, John. I got the part. I'm having a hard time, and I thought you were sent from heaven, my guardian angel. But you're not an angel. Are you God? And I love it. And it's like an absolute smash. I had to act surprised when they read my name. I won't be on this world 1 year from now. What does that mean? So basically, we're seeing him again. That's like he always does, looking at him from different points. But then he finds out about Superman when he first arrived. The ever famous Action Comics #1 cover lifting the car over his head.
Oh, man.
But here's then where things get interesting. Because John, because of how he operates, he's actually seeing history from outside of any changes.
Oh, man.
He arrives and he's seeing the Golden Age Superman origin. But as time, and then he actually sees that happen. And he sees, the Justice Society created and everything. But then what confuses and concerns him then is sometime later, as they're talking, he then asks about Superman, and Carver has no idea about Superman. It's like, who's that? Because a crisis happened and Superman's history changed. So in other words, instead of appearing in 1939, instead Superman landed, and he first appeared in 1956 when things shifted. And he sees it happen again and again. He's seeing what is known as the metaverse. He's seeing that when after events happen, when history changed, that Superman's origins keep on shifting, always changing, never always the same. What did you think about this concept here? That he's witnessing basically all the stuff that happened is technically canon from a meta sense of view, whereas in the universe, history changes only that one way.
That is fascinating. I mean, we already are pretty comfy with the idea of, like, AUs and Elseworlds, this kind of just seems like a natural extension of the concept.
Mm-hmm. And then, in my favorite moment, I don't want to be different. I want to be Clark Kent. I want to be your son. Clark, you are my son. Like, I don't understand this universe. It's May 1949. And as he looks around, and again, he's witnessing, because of the way he can travel, he's witnessing the different tweaks of Superman's history.
Mm-hmm.
And he sees stuff like the Legion of Superheroes and everything. But this is then when John decides to experiment. And all you have to do
boy.
Forces such as the antimatter and X-Day have been responsible for the shifts in Superman's timeline. Dark directions seem to constantly target the hope he embodies in an effort to redefine him. I grow curious. As others have done, I am moved to reshape this universe so that I might see how it forms around Superman. And all he simply does is move the lantern away from Alan Scott. That's all he does. And then that version of Superman would be changed. Because why? There was no more Justice Society to set up the ideas of heroes beforehand. Superman, it was one thing for Superman to be the first back in the 30s.
Mm-hmm.
It's another thing to have Superman be the first in the present day without there being prior heroes before him. So in other words, it makes it clear the idea of the New 52 Superman being the first in his world, there was no one before him, doesn't fully work in a meta sense. Not now.
Yeah.
The world would never trust him if he was the first. That's why you need the Justice Society to exist beforehand.
Indeed.
Which we get to that later. But then comes the one bit. Without his parents or the Legion, Clark grew more distant from humanity. I understand him better. I relate to him more. Think about that. How many times did people use that, like with Watchmen, as the excuse to say, oh, I made them miserable so we can relate to them more?
Yeah.
And how many people were doing that, like with the Snyder, it was Man of Steel.
Yeah.
Remember that? Everyone's saying, oh, I relate to Superman more now because he's miserable and all that.
Yeah, no, here we're pulling the reverse card.
It's making clear it was a bad thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then he saw the vision. Then he meets up with Carver one more time, and we find out that Carver got killed by his mother. Why? Because he's a gay man, and they were using that to blackmail him. But it was eating away at him for so much.
Oh, damn.
Yeah. So he died because of that. His mother just wanted to steal his money and killed him in the process.
Oh,
And
that's
she's the one who
rough.
did it. Yeah, don't you feel bad for that? You're just like, oh man. We're almost done here, Lau. And I do like Super and Batman this time stops them from launching any nukes.
Oh, yeah.
As everything is just going to hell. It is the Doomsday Clock, the metaphorical Doomsday Clock is reaching midnight.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, they say 1 minute to midnight? You do know we're technically less than a minute to midnight currently, right?
Understandable.
I'm talking about the real world.
Yeah.
But yeah, again, the fact that everything just going to hell, and of course, a world to remember. Yes, let's hope. And then as we see him talking with Saturn Girl a bit more, because he's still trying to figure out about these two.
Mm-hmm.
And then we find out what did Luther find out? All these images. He was there. He saw when Barry pulled Wally out of the Speed Force, brought him back, and restored a lot of people's memories. But he also found one of the photos because John was there witnessing the same thing. And he soon realized this is why he doesn't go after Superman, because he realized there's something else out there. Someone manipulating things.
Mm-hmm.
And again, with Superman is like, By order of the President of the United States, I ask you to come quietly. I don't want any trouble. Lower your weapons, please. And then we get the point where, unfortunately, because of history changed, technically, Saturn Girl should not exist because her Virgin of the Legion is gone.
Hmm.
Oh, I like that. I do love how Alfred makes a batch of pancakes to try and give to Reggie to entice him back. Oh boy, and of course he's having these crazy visions. But then, right when he does it, like, we need Rorschach. Not Rorschach. Like, did he just hit Alfred?
Oh gosh.
Of course, Reggie, he's in a bad place right now.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't help what Batman pulled on him before.
Yeah.
But yeah, then we find out, oh, that turns out something's going to be going on with the boy soon, as he would be adopted by Sally and Dan. That's them in their disguises, and they have their own little girl.
Hmm.
And we also find out that, yeah, he's been manipulating a lot of this stuff. Once that John turned around, he's just been escalating things further to try and get John's attention.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, he says, like, one full of hope and at the same time despair. A schizophrenic society overwhelmed with superpowers and costumes. He refused to help us, obsessed with an impending confrontation with Superman that would lead to his own destruction or this universe's. But it was clear why John had ventured here. To be was his own. No. He refused to help us, believing that confrontation with Superman would lead to his or this universe's oblivion. So I came up with a new plan, one to save both worlds. And basically explained it all, how he was responsible for so much of this. And again, everything's escalating. Then we have Superman confront him saying, I'm still catching up, but I know enough to know this has gone too far. But then he asks Sanding Girl, does Superman remember you? And the moment she says no, she disappears. She's gone. Because technically, she was kept together just by her misbelief that she still existed.
Yeah.
You're from the past, and the past won't be erased. And this is it. It is now. It is Superman. It is me. It is us. It is the world. It is time. It's time. And we see Lex looking over these different copies of the photo. Even one was there back when the two Flashes once met. But now we get into the final issue and my favorite issue, because I love how this spelled everything out.
Oh boy, oh boy.
Is this your favorite issue too?
I mean, it's really hard to beat this one, though 8 still has the best cover.
Well, obviously. But it's about how he explains everything. He sees this moment. Who are you? I'm the one you're going to destroy. Or I'm the one who's going to destroy everything. And again, it leads to them fighting a bit more. And again, Black Adam is not helping.
Yeah.
Well, there are innocent people in this area. Since when has that ever stopped your country? Ouch!
Ooh.
Yeah, everything is just escalating more and more. Superman's pummeled. We see Reggie there, but Alfred helps him out to make it clear he's not going to leave him alone. And then tells him, you can actually use this. Make Rorschach better. And I like that. He's basically like, yes, he was a bad man, but you can make him better. And look at this. Look at this.
Oh, damn.
And again, he Vite thinks he's doing what's best. And the funny thing is, he's actually doing the right thing. And of course, Batman actually admits, like, I know you tried to warn me. I'm sorry. Oh, but we see Superman save them before they got hurt. Whoever you are, help these people. I don't help you. I've already seen it. I can't do this alone. He's counting out less than 4 minutes now. And he remembers what happened then. And now, of course, Lex is telling him, I want credit for all this. Now, and it's something called the vibrational emitter as he takes it. We see then this is where Batman's the one who more convinces him to make Rorschach better. You can change it, make people see something else. How can you stand there and not do anything? My world once had a chance at peace, but after I left, it lost it. It fell into war. It's burning even now. I'm the one behind the changes in your life. The loss of mentors you've never known, friends you've forgotten. More specifically, I'm responsible for the deaths of your parents. I changed your life, Superman, out of cold curiosity. Will you destroy me for it? Will I defend myself despite my sins? Superman charges, but he was saving him! Why would you defend me? I don't know what to think about all this, but I do know that right now you have a choice to make. You talk about me destroying you or you destroying me because all you see beyond this is nothing. Maybe there's a third choice. Who is she? She? You're creating those photos with every step you take. I assume they're important to you. She was. Maybe the darkness you see, maybe it takes everything you have to save your world. Maybe you make that choice. Yes, I understand now. Everything ends. Now I hate when they do this, don't you?
Yeah, it's kind of a pain.
It begins with a child. The metaverse forms around this one and only son. It's too dangerous for you to show yourself to the world. They've never seen anything like you, Clark. If they did, a lot of them would be afraid. It's July 16th, 1940. I moved the lantern 6 inches out of engineer Alan Scott's reach. He dies as the train careens off the bridge. It's July 16th, 1940. I put the lantern back. They've seen extraordinary abilities before, Clark. When I was a boy, my father told me stories of the Justice Society of America, wartime heroes who made us feel safer and inspired us to do our part. But that was decades ago. See the huge difference? One is telling him you gotta be careful because they'll be afraid of you, and the other one's saying, hey, there were others like you before. So if you're telling me you're ready to get out there and show everyone you can do, the world is ready too. So in other words, the world is a different place because of the JSA. And because of that, because he heard them and he didn't feel afraid, he saved his parents.
Yeah.
Because they existed, because they were the inspiration, he needed to be a bigger inspiration.
Everyone comes from somewhere.
Yep, and because of that, he's now back to merging, and Johnny Thunder's back to being merged with the Thunderbolt like he's supposed to. All because he put the lantern back. Sorry we're late, son. Well, better late than never, as we see the Legion and the JSA are back! And that's brilliant, isn't it?
It is.
And because thanks to them, they take it all down and save everyone. I see tomorrow, the man of tomorrow, and for the first time, I am inspired. It is April 18th, 1938. Metal whines as Superman lifts a 1937 Ford over his head, revealing himself to Metropolis. And then he explains about all this happening and the crisis happening. Earth 1 became Earth 1985, a world unexplored even today. And now I understand why these Earths exist. Every time there's a change in the metaverse, the multiverse grows to preserve every era of Superman. More are created over the years, including one because of my interference after the Flashpoint and this rebirth. Earth 52 is out there. I look beyond now. In other words, every Earth exists to retain a copy of Superman. In the year and basically explains other things that happen, like Earth 5G is born, all this stuff, even the teasing of a secret crisis that implies Marvel and DC dealing with each other. But I love this. It's April 18th, 2038. Superman appears in public for the first time. 22 years earlier, the Kent's prayers for a child are answered when a rock lands on their farm. Superman's timeline shifts forward again. Now, April 18th, 1938, now marks a different date. Jonathan Martha and their baby Colin flying the boy who will one day be Superman. The rocket arrives again in the year 2045, delivering the Kents their only child. They find the rocket with their 3-year-old daughter, Clara, in the year 2162. Basically saying Superman's always going to change. The Kents may change, but things will never always be the same.
Mm-hmm.
I love how he shows that. Like the Kents having it good, then they don't again, then they do again.
Mm-hmm.
The idea of Superman having a brother or sister is interesting.
Yeah.
And like, I did it again. Did what exactly? Everything we needed to clear Superman's name was on your ship. Yes, I know. I left it for you to find and give to his wife, no doubt. It's all going according to plan. Don't worry, Bubastis. It's only John. Let him summon us. I know what you've done, Adrian. I would expect nothing less by this point in the game, John. Once I learned about your vision of Superman and Superman himself, it was rather a simple initiative. If I couldn't convince you to use your power to save our world, I was certain he would. All I had to do was arrange the confrontation. But then he gets. Am I hearing a cat?
Oh.
Is there a cat on your end?
Oh. Didn't realize you could hear that.
So
Carry
yeah,
on.
then comedian shoots right. Oh, all right. He said, "Hold on."
Oh. No,
Never mind, never
continue.
mind. We could do. But yeah, comedian shoots fight, but then Luther sends him back where he dies again because he's sent back to the moment he was brought back. See what I mean? What was the point of him, right?
Yeah.
But then, what does Reggie do? He stays by so he can actually rot in prison.
Mm-hmm.
And then we find out about their son. Like, you have a daughter on the way. As for your son, my plan is that you'll see each other again. He'll need an anchor. And then we see him approach Carver after time he was going to die. But then he comes back. It is not. It is I who will not be around. I don't understand. I haven't been a very good friend, Carver, but I can see so many futures now making a good choice. Don't be afraid of what you feel. And because of that, he outs himself. He then reveals him being gay. Even though that meant being blacklisted, he eventually made a mid-return in the mid-60s, going on to do an Academy Award and helping bring about change in Hollywood with, homosexuality.
Hmm.
Being him, again, being inspiration.
Yeah.
Again, the JSA showing up and they're trying now to help out, even calling people out saying this is McCarthyism all over again, and we won't, that shouldn't be allowed.
Hmm.
And because of that, because thanks to Superman and the JSA, things are starting to turn around,
Hmm.
and the Kents are alive again.
Yeah.
And what does he do? John then do? He fixes his world.
Mm-hmm.
And we also find out things like Bubatis actually is going to be along with a girl named Nostalgia, which Jeff Johns is working on currently. We also find out why was the blind spot of mine and Marionette's son. It's because of him. He took
Mm-hmm.
the child to raise him, to make and names him Clark after
Yeah.
Superman. And with the last bit of his power, he saves his world and then gives his energies to Clark and leaves him in the care of Sally and Dan. Every child comes with the message that God is not yet discouraged of man. So again, how was that whole story? I was asking two ways. One, how does this work as a Watchmen sequel and commentary?
Excellent as it.
Yep, it worked very well as all that, and it kind of fixed a lot of the damage that was done.
Yeah, it's sort of like retroactively sort of gave commentators notes on the first one, where it's just like, well, apparently you couldn't read the first time, so here we're going to put in all of the heroes you're familiar with to sort of help you see the contrasts they were supposed to be.
Exactly, and allows Jeff Johns to continue to progress them.
Mm-hmm.
Then, well, how is this as a Superman story?
Oh, it's fantastic as a Superman story because it gets the point of who Superman is supposed to be, which it seems a lot of people really fail to do these days.
It does. And again, it feels like Jeff Johns takes the commentary and gives us a wrap up to it. Like, again, having Bite call out Batman and everything, saying how why don't you do more to help the world? But it's like, why would they? Why should they?
Mm-hmm.
Things like that. And the artwork was amazing, of course. But this has become one of my favorite books, for a long, long time. Also, did you realize in the cover it looks just that splash?
Yeah, I caught that. I know at least that much.
Yeah, and but overall, though, I mean, this was just so good. And by the end, it's all about bringing back hope and why hope is not a bad thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Especially with
unfortunately,
that last panel and the accompanying quotes.
yeah, especially that. And there's more to come from all this, but for this story, it felt like this fixed a lot of issues. The only problem
Mm-hmm.
is, unfortunately, because of all the delays, it kind of became a footnote,
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately.
And
Right?
I
But
will admit that there were some parts even in the finished product where it dragged at times, but
yeah,
on the whole, it was very good.
it was. Now, what would you say about the idea of the metaverse? The fact that the
Hmm.
metaverse is a case where everything exists and you can witness the changes in the multiverse.
Hmm. I feel like it's something that you would need to handle very carefully, or that only a specific sphere of characters like Dr. Manhattan should be able to really see.
Exactly.
Otherwise, you're going to get a headache very, very quickly,
But it
or
makes
have it
sense.
used to be justified a whole lot of plot BS because you
But
don't really understand how it works.
But it does. Manhattan is one of the few people who can, given his unique nature,
Mm-hmm.
for him to be able to witness and observe everything, and the fact that he's confused is like, you see Superman in 1938, but then it turns out like, do you know about Superman? Wait, who's Superman? And then he finds out, wait, what's going on? But the fact is
Mm-hmm.
that John is not a bad guy. He's
Mm-hmm.
not the villain here. And he said, I caused all this by my cold curiosity.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it felt like, I mean, well, why didn't John put it back? That is a good question, isn't it? Like,
Mm-hmm.
he got the answer, but why didn't he fix it then? Probably maybe because he felt like the damage was already done.
Yeah.
Now, like we brought up with this whole idea of the Superman theory was a clever idea. There's a lot of great, clever ideas in there, and it was executed very well. But again, it's just looking back over this recent time, finding out just how much Lex was an interesting part of it.
Mm-hmm.
That was the surprising part of all was Lex, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, because it's just like
You're used to Lex
they
being
could
all
have
like,
just
I'm.
had him be a bit character in this, and they could have gotten the main message across, but they decided to add another layer by showing how Lex, someone you would expect to act in bad faith in all of this, actually acts in, like, well,
Decent faith.
reasonably.
Yeah, well, reasonably, yes. And again, the fact when he called out Bite, again, that
Mm-hmm.
speaks volumes about the difference between the two.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, if this was the perfect time for Lex to be all like, yes, humanity's turning on Superman, finally, yet he doesn't want it.
Mm-hmm. Not
Not for
like
these reasons.
this.
Not like this. Not for these reasons when he knows someone else is manipulating things.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, overall, what would you rate this?
I'd say give it a 9 out of 10.
Same
It's
here.
just
And the
like the only
artwork,
thing that's keeping me from giving it a full 10 is, in fact, the parts where it drags a bit.
which was again those first couple of issues before six. It's like the first two issues, I could say was good. It was three, four, and five is when it started to be a snail's pace, and you're like,
Yeah, I can agree with that.
I mean, granted, some of them were needed to explain the backstories of Marionette and Mime and everything. I can understand that issue, but then
The
it
other
just
ones were
and
just
yeah. But yeah, thank you for joining me on this one, Ingrid. And I promise you this will be the last time I talk about Doomsday Clock. I did approach it as new. This is a proper discussion about it. Unless I do, and the only other time I'll ever do is if I do an overall Watchmen discussion. But other than that, this I assure you is my last time talking about just Watchmen. And I'm just Doomsday Clock. But thank you for joining me, Ingrid, and I hope to see you everyone else on the next one. Take care.